Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here and welcome back to the railway and welcome back to 7 Ages of Steam. Now I started this series almost a year ago and I've been chipping away at it slowly, and each episode focuses of course on just 10 years of British steam, starting from the end of the 1800s, and I've done 6 of those videos, and if you haven't seen them, do check them out if you'd like to. And now we're all the way up to the 1950s, which is of course where steam began to end. So quite a sad decade in some ways, but in other ways you have some of the most efficient and the most developed British steam locomotives. So I hope you're going to enjoy this one. I've got 6 BR locomotives to show you today, so hopefully you're going to enjoy it. Okay, let's have a look at the first one. So we're starting off then towards the beginning of the decade in 1951, and the first loco we're looking at of course is a Pacific, and these were known as the Standard Class 7. And they're much better known as the Britannia class of course, because the first loco of the class was called Britannia. So as you can see, she is coupled to some, I don't know what you call them, I think they are BR coaches, but they're chocolate and cream anyway. And of course they are split over 2 sidings, so we have the little 060 pannier tank to help her there. So she's going to drag the first 3 coaches out, and then I'll mysteriously take her off the tracks. And then the Britannia of course will reverse her 2 coaches out to make a train of 5 coaches in total. So yep, let me just grab that point then. There we go, and let's see if that little pannier tank can just take those 3 coaches out for us. Okay, let's give this a try. I can't remember which direction she's set to go in, so... Oh no, that was pretty good. I should have kept my mouth shut. Okay. And there she is then, just emerged out from behind the bookcase there. I'm just going to grab her off the track because of course she isn't from the 1950s, so yeah, she's just a guest I suppose. Okay, and let's change that point then. Okay, and let's give Britannia a little bit of juice and see if she can couple up to the rest of the train. Nice and steadily does it. Just move the camera for you a little bit. Right, she should have met the coaches now, so I'm going to give her a little bit more power. And of course she's stopped on the points. Hang on, let me give her a push. Come on girl. I know it's a lot of work. There we go. Alright, stop her and just change the point back. Okay, and change direction, and let's bring her forward. And as always, when she emerges, hopefully she'll have the whole train coupled to her. Let's see, well she's still got the first 2 coaches, and yes, she's got the rest. Okay, that's good. Alright, I'll tell you a little bit about the Class 7s then. So the most famous member of the Class 7s was of course Britannia, and the class, as I said, was often referred to Britannia because she was the first. The class were designed by Robert Riddles and introduced in 1951, and they were the first large British Pacifics to run on just 2 cylinders. The class were extremely cheap to produce and to maintain, and yet they still ran extremely reliably and efficiently, making them very, very successful. As I say, Britannia, the first locomotive, still exists today, along with Oliver Cromwell. And 55 were actually produced in total, though all but those 2 were scrapped, sadly. Alright then, time to stop Britannia just here then, I think that will do. And of course I'll return to her in just a second, but first of all I've got 2 more locos to show you, so yeah, let's get on with it. The next one. Okay, next loco then is also from 1951, and this is actually one I've never shown before on the channel. This is the Standard Class 5, or the 5MT, which stands for mixed traffic of course. And this is a lovely Bachmann one, so don't forget to click like if you'd like to see me review that one, and I will try and get round to that at some point. But yeah, she has some LMS coaches. I suppose they are most relevant coaches for her to pull. So let me grab these points then, there we go, and I'll bring her out and then I'll tell you all about them. Alright, let's do it. And I really want her to be on the middle line at the minute, so I'm going to just open these points for her, and hopefully she'll do this without a problem. Yeah, well the loco did. Come on, let's get a full house with the coaches. Perfect. Alright then, here we go with a little bit of info on the 5MT. So these were also designed by Robert Riddles, and the BR Standard Class 5 was heavily based on Stannier's Black 5s, and in fact they closely resembled them. As I say, these were also introduced in 1951 and 172 of the class were produced over a 6-year period. They were slightly different to Stania's Black 5s though, in that they had larger driving wheels and a higher running plate, yet they were also very successful during their short lives. A healthy 5 of them have been preserved, while the rest quite sadly were scrapped. Alright, let's bring the Class 5 to a stop then. There we go. And there's a little close-up of her too, just so that you can see her. Beautiful loco. I can't wait to review it. Yeah, okay, one more loco still to come during this half of the video, so let's go and look at it straight away. Alright, and we've already heard from Triang and Bachmann, so now it's time to hear from Wren. And this is the standard Class 4 tank engine, also from 1951. And as you can see, it's a 264 in the red. So here's an interesting trivia question for you. There should be a little pop-up for you to answer it. Is this a suitable livery for the standard Class 4? See if you can guess. Okay, let's get this one running then. I'll just open that point. And she is pulling some empty wagons, by the way. I forgot to mention that. Okay, here she goes then. The standard Class 4 tank engine version. Oh, steady girl. Alright, I'll shut this point then, and here's a little bit of info on the class. So this is today's third design by Robert Riddles. This time it was based on the LMS 264 tank engines by both Fairbairn and Fowler. The class worked on all but the western region of British Railways during the 1950s, and they were mostly used on commuter passenger services. The locomotives began to be withdrawn from service in 1962, and sadly the last was taken in 1967. Of 155 built, a massive 15 have been preserved, which is pretty good, of course. Okay, time to get the rest of these engines running then. There goes the Class 5 and Britannia, of course, and then we're going to move on to the second half. There we go, everything running nicely. It's going to be a bit of everything today. So we've got Bachmann, Triang and Wren, so obviously you can probably guess what's coming up in the second part, but yeah, everything seems to be running nicely. I think this is the only freight train running today actually, so yeah, I'm sorry about that, any freight lovers, but yeah, plenty of freight elsewhere. Fantastic Class 5. Keep wanting to call it a Black 5, but I shouldn't really. Okay, well I think it's just about time to pop these locos back into their sidings, and I always do that off camera because I don't want to bore you all, but I'll be back very shortly with the second half of this video with 3 more locomotives from the 1950s. Okay, I'll be right back then. Alright, I'm back then, and the locos are back in their sidings there, as you can see. Time to move on to loco number 4 then, and finally we're moving away from 1951 because this one came out in 1952. It's a 262 tank engine known as the 3MT, And this is another Triang one, of course, which has the comically undersized wheels, but never mind. And she's pulling 3 passenger coaches, ex-LNER coaches in fact they are. So yeah, let's get her started and I'll give you a little bit of history on the class. Alright, but first things first, I've got to get her onto the very inner line, so I'm just going to start changing points here to get her in there. And I've also got to change these, so I'll just get onto that. It's these two. And there she is, she's on the inner line. Alright, here's that information then. So another Riddles design then. This time the Standard Class 3 was based on designs from IVAT of the LMS and from Cullet of the Great Western. The 3MT locomotives were based in the northern, southern and western regions of British Railways, as well as the London area. Many of the class had extremely short working lives and some only existed for about 8 years before they were scrapped. 45 were built during the early 1950s and sadly all of those were scrapped. We didn't get any of those preserved, sadly. Alright, I'm going to bring the 3MT to a stop just there then, and of course she'll be running in just a few minutes time, but next let's show you number 5. I think it's Loco 5, isn't it? Yes. Right, let's go and look at it then. And here it is then. This is my Hornby Class 8 Duke of Gloucester, and as you can see she has a few teak coaches on the back of her. How many? 6 of those, yes, so that should be quite good. I'll open these points there, ready to get her going straight away. And she needs to be on the middle line, so I'm going to try out my Hornby Express points for the first time, so that should be exciting. We'll see if she can take them. And this loco also has DCC sound, or TTS sound installed, so I'm going to get that turned on as well so you can hear her chuffing. So yes, I'm going to go and get her started then. Here we go. Alright, the Duke's coming a little bit quicker now and very loudly, so we can really test these express points. Here we go. Oh yes, look at that. Okay, here's a little bit of history then. God, she's noisy. So the Class 8 was introduced 1 year after the Class 7 in 1953, and you might be surprised to hear this. This one was actually designed by Robert Riddles. The loco closely resembled the Britannia, though it featured 1 additional cylinder, so 3 in total. Only 1 was ever built, which was the prototype, Duke of Gloucester, or Duke as it was often known, and proved to be extremely effective, around a 10% improvement to the Class 7. But the decision was taken not to develop the idea any further due to the steam era coming to its end. The single locomotive has been preserved and still runs today, though it has been modified considerably since its BR days. Okay, time to bring the Duke of Gloucester to a stop then, which she doesn't do very quickly, unfortunately. There we go, all the passengers have just flown out of their seats. Alright, that's fine then. I'm just going to pop the sound off on that one, because there is one more locomotive to show you today. So, yep, let's get to that one. And here we are then, the very last locomotive, not just of the video of course, but of the whole series. So this is the 9F of course from 1954, and this particular locomotive, Evening Star as you can see, was the only one of the class which actually did express passenger work, or passenger work. So it was painted into BR green as you can see, and I've also given her some Pullman coaches just to sort of honour that fact. So I'm going to get these points, these 2 sets here, and I'm going to get her out, and then I'm going to tell you all about the very last class of steam locomotives. I know I did tell you this a few days ago when I did a 9F review, but yeah, you might find it interesting anyway. So here we go, let me get her started. Well, this locomotive makes a full house because this one was also designed by Riddles, and as I say, this was the final class of steam locomotives built for British Railways, and in fact Evening Star was the final locomotive of the class to be built. It was decided that this locomotive would be preserved before it was even complete, and it was the only member of the class to be given a BR green paint job. Over 250 were built between 1954 and 1960, and 9 have been preserved. And you know, when you think about the name Evening Star, it makes you wonder whether they knew it was the last. I think probably they did. It's a very meaningful name, of course, not because it was the last of the class, but because it was the last ever to be built for British Railways. So it was really just like the very last star in the evening of steam. Okay then, let me get the others back up and running then and put the sound on, and we'll have the very last running session of 7 Ages of Steam. So here we go. And there they go. So these of course were some of the last locomotives to be produced for British Railways. And of course the Evening Star was the very last. So quite sad actually. It's a very important, very special locomotive, but it's quite a sad locomotive too. And as I say, I think the name conveys that quite nicely. Yep. Okay, well you've seen them all now, so do let me know in the poll which was your favourite locomotive. And also if you have a favourite from the series as a whole, please let me know. I don't know, I think my favourite from today is the 9F, Evening Star. But as for my favourite loco of the whole series, it's very difficult, I don't really know. Maybe the Merchant Navy class. Oh yeah, here he goes again, Merchant Navy class. Yep, I do quite like the BR locomotives actually. I always thought I much preferred the pre-nationalisation locos, but no, I think these are all quite nice, aren't they? And I'm sorry about all the rumpus coming from the Duke of Gloucester, but it is a very lovely, rich sound that comes out of that one. Very nice, that one is. Lovely. Okay then folks, well that is it for this video, and that's it for the series. If you did enjoy it, please do let me know in the comments, and also if you have any other suggestions for series or videos, I'd be really glad to consider them, so please get in touch if you'd like to suggest something. Also, if you'd like to, please feel free to check out my Facebook and Twitter pages if you'd like to, and they're at facebook.com/samstrains and twitter.com/samstrains. It would be lovely to see you on there, so do check those out if you'd like. And also, if you'd like to have your name put up on the Wall of Fame, I can't get everybody in the same shot anymore, but I'll try and show them all. You can send those in to samstrains@outlook.com and I'll print those off and put them up for you. But for now, thank you very much for watching once again. I do really appreciate it, and I will see you all very soon. Cheers everybody.